Let's welcome in somebody who knows a thing or two about going up against wide receivers here. Two-time Super Bowl champ, cornerback Bryant McFadden here. So Chase Claypool telling I Am Athlete, you know what? Yeah, I'm top 5. In fact, I'm top 3 in the NFL. What do you make of that?
I'm okay that Chase, thinks so highly of himself. He has to believe in his ability. But outside of verbally expressing it, Amanda, now you got to go put it on film. Now you got to go put it on tape for all of us to see, to make us believers that you are a top 5 wide receiver, that you are a top 3 wide receiver. This is a huge year for Chase Claypool. This is a huge year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So all he did was just put it on wax. Now we got to go out and see it become a reality. And so far, he's not quite there yet, in my opinion, but that's no knock on who he is as a player and what he can become as a player. But I love seeing the confidence that he believes in his ability. I love seeing that, he's fired up about an opportunity to really go out and show people what he believes of himself. And I can tell you this much, it takes a lot of guts, Amanda, to go out and say that, knowing that everyone is going to pick it up, knowing that everyone is going to talk about it. This is barbershop material. This is hair salon material. For anyone who loves the game of football and follow wide receivers, he gave us a lot to digest and talk about before we get into the nitty-gritty of the season. So me personally, Chase, I'm okay with this statement coming from Chase Claypool. But when you put it out there for the universe to dissect and rip apart, make sure you're ready to go put it on film as well, so we can have another storyline to go off of from this statement.
And not just that, I mean, he said it at a time where, let's face it, not a ton is going on. And so it's going to get even more talk right now. All right, let's talk about some other wide receivers here. B-Mac, you have your top 10 wide receivers heading into next season. And coming in at number 1, Justin Jefferson. And a lot of this, looking ahead to next season, has to do with his new head coach.
No question. So when you look at my top list, for top 10 wide receivers, is about what they've been able to do so far in their professional career and the expectations for this upcoming season. And the reason why I have Justin Jefferson number 1, just from the individual standpoint, right? When you look at Justin Jefferson, when you look at the beginning of the route, which is what I call the appetizer, it's the beginning of the route at the line of scrimmage. He is Keenan Allen. His ability to make corners, make them move, get them off their target point, create separation at the line of scrimmage is a thing of beauty, and he does it so consistently. I mean, he's able to get you off the mark and get into his route. And then at the end of the route, which is what I call, it's the main entree, right? He is like Stevie Johnson. The way he's able to manipulate defenders' eyes with his body movement, how fluid he moves at the end of the route to create separation is another thing of beauty as well. And when it's all said and done, right, you've ate your appetizer, you ate your main entree, you got to get dessert. So when it comes to what he does, when it comes to catching the football, he is Brandon Lloyd. And if you remember who Brandon Lloyd was as a pass catcher, one of the most under the radar receivers during his tenure when it comes to catching difficult passes, that's who Justin Jefferson is. So if you ever order anything off of his menu, I hope you got a full stomach, because you're going to have a plate full.
Beam, with that entire analogy, I just give you so much credit for coming up with that. We just went through a whole meal there with Justin Jefferson. Let's go to the guy coming in number 2 on your list, Jamar Chase, reigning NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, most receiving yards by a rookie in the Super Bowl era, surpassing Justin Jefferson's rookie season. Why is Jamar Chase number 2? Could he potentially be number 1 by the end of next season?
Just the expectations. I mean, Jamar Chase gave us over 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns as a rookie, just learning the game on the fly, right? So one would think with an experienced year under his belt, understanding and knowing the game of football, how it's played on the defensive side from defensive coordinators and from defensive backs, these numbers will improve dramatically, along with the chemistry that he has with his quarterback, cigar smoking Joe Burrow. Man, the sky is definitely the limit for Jamar Chase in this Cincinnati Bengals offense. And because of that, I have him number 2. And it's funny because the number 1 guy is Justin Jefferson. The number 2 guy is Jamar Chase. Guess what? They played together at LSU. There's no surprise to see those guys have the success they've been able to have. And when I look at Jamar Chase, he's a reincarnated Jimmy Smith. I mean, very, very strong at the point of attack. Can get defenders off of him easily. Sure-handed guy. A guy that can get behind the coverage easily as well. And just his ability to create separation. He does it, so it's just a natural thing for Jamar Chase. So when I watch Jamar Chase play, I always go back to watching. It feels like I'm watching Jimmy Smith. And if you guys are old timers of the game, historians of the game, Jimmy Smith was a grown man. Jamar Chase, he's a grown man also.
B-Mac coming in at number 3 on your list. We do have an article on CBSSports.com, by the way, with the top 10 wide receivers. According to one of our writers, this is your list. Now, on that one,
My list.
They had Devonta Adams as number 1. You have him as number 3. Why is that?
The reason why I have Devonta Adams number 3 on my list is because of the potential concern with the lack of chemistry, rhythm with his new quarterback, Derek Carr. See, the two guys that I highlighted, number 1 and number 2, they understand their quarterback. They've been working with their quarterback for years outside of Jamar Chase having that 1 year under his belt. But remember, Joe Burrow was his quarterback at LSU, so he understands and knows how Joe throws the football and vice versa when it comes to catching. I have little concerns regarding how fast the chemistry will be established there in Vegas with Derek Carr and Devonta Adams. And because of that, I have Devonta number 3 on my list. Listen, there's no knock on Devonta Adams. He's one of the best route runners in the game, one of the more consistent pass catchers in the game. It's just that this is the first time we're going to see Devonta not playing with his big-time future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. So how long would it take for him to get adjusted to Derek Carr in life in a Las Vegas Raiders uniform is the big concern. And because of that, Amanda, that's why he's number 3. But listen, look at these numbers. If you're mad at me for having Devonta number 3, I'm okay with that, because if he was number 1 on your list, I'm okay with that as well. That's just my concern, and this is my list, and that's why he's number 3.
And it is your list. We'll see what he does this upcoming season. Coming in at number 4 on your list, Cooper Kupp, reigning NFL Offensive Player of the Year. Look, he had one of the most prolific seasons by a wide receiver in history this past season. Coming in at number 4, I mean, how much of that has to do with that's just hard to repeat?
It's exactly. My thing is about Cooper Kupp, we know what type of football player he is. He's a football player that happens to play the wide receiver position. But if you're playing against the Rams, when it comes to the passing game, he is the one guy you want to efface out of the game plan. And I do believe defensive coordinators, defenders will try to neutralize or efface him out of the game plan, and that will provide opportunities for other guys in the passing game. Because of what he did, how well he dominated, how consistent he was, you cannot allow Cooper Kupp to go out and get one-on-one opportunities. No. So just my concern with the amount of attention that he will receive, deserving so, has Cooper Kupp number 4 on my list. But I can tell you this much. If he comes close to doing what he did a year ago, I would not be surprised, because he's that type of player.
B-Mac, we're going to do kind of a matchup here. Some guys that came in very close on your list. Coming in at number 5, you have Tyreek Hill. At number 6, Stefon Diggs. So explain this order and compare these two guys to one another.
I was going back and forth, Hill, Diggs, Diggs, Hill, Hill, Diggs, Diggs, Hill. And I ultimately went Tyreek at 5 because just the fear factor that Tyreek has. I'm afraid of Tyreek Hill, and I'm retired. So I can imagine what these corners are thinking when they know they're going against the Cheetah this upcoming Sunday or Monday or Thursday. So with that being said, I do believe he's going to flourish. Will we see the same impact in Miami that we saw from him in Kansas City? We have to wait and see, because of course it's a new quarterback. And then with Stefon Diggs, you can close your eyes and put a guy in a spot and be okay with it. But Stefon Diggs, over 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. His quarterback is a guy who I believe will be one of the favorites to win the MVP this year. And with that being said, Stefon Diggs will do numbers. So me personally, I was going back and forth. I literally closed my eyes and put my finger on a player's name to decide who go 5 and who go 6. And it became Tyreek being the 5th guy and Stefon Diggs being the 6th guy.
So that was 5 and 6, but let's go to 7 and 8 because you sent us one email and you said, okay, let's put Mike Evans, at 7 and Debo at 8. And then you emailed our producer Noah and said, no, you got to switch it. Debo 7, Mike Evans 8.
Yeah, it's tongue in cheek once again. I looked at the potential. I feel like Debo is going to have a huge year, especially if he's paid before the start of the season, which would, make him extremely excited about the opportunity. Now, Trey Lance, that's the one caveat with Debo. How soon will that chemistry become a thing of reality in San Francisco? And then with Mike Evans, not knowing the status of Chris Godwin, right? Now we heard Gronkowski retire. You still have Cameron Brate, but Gronkowski is Gronkowski. You got Russell Gage as a new guy, so a lot of attention might be going towards Mike Evans' way. And I think the way they utilize Deebo Samuel, and I understand this is wide receivers, but he does a lot. Just the way they utilize and move him around the offense, I think he's going to have a huge year similar to what he did last year, especially when it comes to the receiving yards.
Your last two coming in at 9 and 10. One of them initially was not number 10. Initially, you had Terry McLaurin there. He is now, or excuse me, initially you had Keenan Allen there. He's not in there anymore. Terry McLaurin is number 10 with A.J. Brown coming in at number 9.
A.J. Brown, quietly in an injury-like year, only played 13 games, almost had 900 yards, 5 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts got to deliver. I think he will deliver. A.J. Brown is a physical nightmare. He's a football player as well. He just has to stay healthy. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver, and I think he will easily prove that this year. Now, for my 10th spot, I'm a Keenan Allen guy. I love Keenan Allen. I always draft him every year in fantasy. But I started to look at the potential and the expectations. There's a lot going on with the Chargers when it comes to receivers and pass catchers. And Mike Williams is coming. Mike Williams had a huge year. He was finally healthy. He is coming. So that could take some opportunities away from Keenan Allen. But when it comes to Scary Terry McLaurin out in Washington, he is the number one guy. I understand they paid Curtis Samuel over a year ago. They drafted Johan Dotson. But McLaurin is the guy. And the thing about this, what ultimately got him in my top 10, Amanda, this is a man who's been so consistent with me throwing him the football. It was like I was his quarterback, and you couldn't tell because he's that type of player. One would think with Carson Wentz there, the talent that Carson still has in the potential, this will be his best quarterback option he's ever received passes from in his career. And with that being said, I believe he's going to showcase that he is a top 10 wide receiver. So that's why I ultimately snuck Scary Terry in my top 10. I had to remove Keenan Allen. I apologize. But I think based on finally having a little structure at the quarterback position there in Washington will definitely enhance Terry McLaurin's ability and provide big-time numbers for the Commanders.
B-Mac, if you were still playing, is there one of these guys that you would just love to go up against? I don't know if it would be Justin Jefferson because he's number 1. Anyone else?
I don't want any of those guys. Give me, whoever's not on my list, I don't want them. And whoever didn't make the list, I don't want them either. No. And I've been eating a lot of red velvet cake and a lot of desserts. So I'm not in the shape to cover anybody right now, unfortunately. Banana pudding and stuff like that, I just...
No. All right, V-Mac, as we let you go, open up your jacket. Let's see the shirt. Let's see the merch because I'm about to promo your podcast here. All things covered with Bryant McFadden. You look good in that shirt. Please mail me one here at CBS Sports HQ headquarters. All things covered. B-Mac, his cousin Patrick Peterson, their latest episode talking to Devin Lloyd about his football journey and also teaming up with the number 1 overall pick in Trayvon Walker. Make sure to download and follow. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.